Hey guys, it's Sue. So we are ending November, and I thought I would show you guys what we do for our monthly bills, but also a little walkthrough of how I convert over to the next month. So we always do 2 months at the same time, just because things like rent and stuff like that end up where it's taking from paychecks of the previous month. So it's just easier to have both of them up at once. And we're doing them really, really large on these big pieces of paper for a while, but that is a little unnecessary and a little unruly. Let's try that in English. So I started doing them on half-size pieces of paper, so they're still really sizable. These are actually in our living room. Like, there's Chris's computer and everything behind me. Like, these are nice and big, but they are really handy because from anywhere in this room you can just turn around and look and see what's coming up. So the things that we have on this board are the month, the rough due date, which it kind of gets off after a little while just because shorter and longer months sometimes change the due date, but these are, estimated. Then a description of what it is that we're talking about paying, the amount that is due. Again, that kind of gets a little wishy-washy just because like some things end up where, like especially my student loan ends up a few bucks more or less depending on the day it gets paid. And then the most important column of all is when it got paid. And I know this looks like a hot mess right now, but this helps us keep track of if we actually paid something and to make sure that both of us know that it's been paid, it's going to be coming out of the account or it's already out of the account. So we did that already for December, so I will walk you guys through January. So we're going to try to do this as efficiently as possible, but this paper is huge and it's really hard to fit it under the tripod and everything like it is. So an effort will be made. The first thing that I actually did was I wrote down the paychecks that we're going to have in January, and well, I'll just show you. So we've got when we're both getting paid or when Chris is getting paid, and we've got that on here. And normally I would do that from my iPhone calendar, but the iPhone is what I'm actually recording the videos with, so I had to do it before I started recording here. The other thing that we do is we keep the month that we're taking down and we copy from this. So the way that I personally like to do it is that we have all of the expenses in orange each month, or pink or red or some sort of like negative color kind of thing, and then all of our income is either green or blue or some sort of positive color. So the other rule with this is if you have multiple payments for the same day, here's a good example down here, then you put your expenses first and your paycheck afterward, because you should always assume, just in case something goes wrong with the bank or whatever, that you are relying on the previous paychecks to pay for these expenses and not having that income listed before it, where it kind of visually confuses it. So I am going to use these dates to assume when roughly in January we're going to have to pay stuff, and I will work in the paychecks as we go along. And usually I have to double and triple check my work because it's kind of hard to skip over these income pieces and use these ones instead and not confuse the dates and stuff. So we're just going to wing it and we'll see what happens here. The other thing that's confusing is to not write December or whatever the next month is and to go to the month after. So an effort will be made. 1/1 is rent, and it will still be $860. So then not this paycheck. The next paycheck is going to be January 3rd. So we have 1, 2, mattress, that's $100. The next thing on here is 1/7, so coming back over here to 1/3, put a little star next to it, that is both paychecks. Then we have 1-7. This is now capital 1, and it's usually $52. 1-7, we have the monthly Adobe payment, and that is $10.76. Then we have another paycheck, which isn't getting written down. The next payday is for Chris on the 10th, which falls before this. So 1-10, Chris pay, put a star on that. Actually, I'm going to cross these off. Next on 1-11, we have first mark, and that is all over the place. So we'll just write what this previous one was. Then 1-12, we have Navient, which is now 580 something. I might just write 580 on that one. Then we have Chris's paycheck, which is not on there. My phone, the due date has actually been bumped up. So 1-14, my phone, and that is for $44.40. I'll come up here and write in space. Then the next thing is the 20th for my Discover student loan, but we have a paycheck for both of us that comes before that, so 1-17. Both pay. Then on the 20th, we have Discover for $70. Then on the 22nd, we have Spectrum, which is the internet, and they raised it to $69.99. Then Chris has his car, $310.46. Then this one is both payday, but obviously that's not happening. But Chris gets paid on the 24th, which falls before that. So 1-24, Chris pay. That's out of there. 1-26, our G&E is our electric bill, and that is $60.73, which that one might be off just because we do the monthly budget billing, and they said that we were, the last time I checked at least, over the amount we needed to be, so that's at least good. Then we're getting down to the very bottom where you're starting to not be able to see, but the next thing on here is I have a monthly investing app, and say what you want about investing, but I do it, and I round up to $15. It's not actually quite 15, but that's on there. Then we are off the paper here, but the last couple are Chris's phone and then another paycheck. So Chris's phone comes next, and that is $52.57. And then we have a payday for both of us. It is an extra paycheck month, so that is both pay. So that takes care of that. That takes care of that. That should be everything. I'm just gonna assume that I did this correctly because I was saying it out loud the whole time. Leave a comment down below if I didn't. And we'll move on to January. So I'll just put these on the floor for right now. So like I said, we have started doing half-size papers, and even though I am an artist for a living and I love making art, I hate bullet journaling, but I really like making these monthly charts, but I like doing them all at once. So I actually did these last December for the whole year, which is why they're a little bit on the fancier side, because I had some days off and just did it then. So now what we do is go through, and everything that's an expense we write in orange, and everything that is income we write in green. And I actually am going to mark the ones that are green because nothing is more infuriating then starting to write in the wrong color. All right, so we have rent, we have mattress, then there's a paycheck in there, but I'm gonna skip it and write a couple more orange ones. 17 is capital one for $52. Then Adobe for $10.76. We have another paycheck. Then we have First Mark. $88.69. Then we have Navient for $5.80. Then we have my phone for $44.40. Then we have another paycheck. Then $120. Discover student loan for $70. Then $122. Spectrum for $69.99. Then folding it up a little so we can stay in here. Spectrum, then we have the car payment. $310.46. Then we have another payday. Then $126. We have RG&E for $60.73. $128. Stash investing for $15. $129. Chris's phone for $52.57. And everything after that is paychecks. So coming back up to the top, we had 1, 3, both, payday, then 110, Chris payday, then 117, both, payday, then 124, Chris payday, and 131, both payday. And when it's paydays, we don't put the amounts in there, even if we know what they're going to be, because life happens and we just don't assume anything. So then I have blank space at the bottom, and I usually will write something funny or cute or whatever in there, or with it being winter, maybe snowflakes or snowmen or something. I just use these blank lines because some months there's a little more, some months there's a little less, so I just like having the extra. We also had some stuff that's been paid off over the last year since I was making these. I'll decide what I'm doing with that in a little while, but hopefully this gives you guys an idea of maybe something you can do for your own expenses, especially if it's like a family thing or a husband and wife thing where it's more than one person getting into this, where maybe you would want to have a chart on your wall. Pro tip, don't use masking tape to attach it to your wall. I like to use this stuff called artist tape, and it's very, very similar to like blue painter's tape, where it's supposed to be able to tape on the wall and then come back off without leaving a mark. I did end up using masking tape one time and it left a mark and it will never come out. I tried to wash it, scrape it. So definitely use a very easily removable tape if you're going to do this on your own. But otherwise, that's how we do it, and I usually do it within a few days of the end of the month, because even though there's usually items left, like the last couple things on here, we know that they're coming out in a couple days. It's not a surprise to anybody. They're not huge expenses, and it's just easier to already have the next month up. And we do our whiteboard on the 28th, so usually the last week of the month is the time to do the next month's chart. So if you guys like this idea, leave a thumbs up, which is hard to do when the camera is facing straight down here, but leave a thumbs up. And as always, to keep up with our finance journey and all of this sort of stuff and tips and tricks and ideas, just go ahead and subscribe, and maybe even leave a comment with some ideas for stuff we can talk about in the future. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!